Hi, everybody. Welcome to Google Plus Week. I'm Dan McDermott. I'm turning on the Facebook thing. We're on YouTube Live, Google Plus, and we're on Facebook. So if you're watching us on any of those things, you can comment on the post anywhere, and we will read them, um, unless they're really bad. So I think we're live. Yeah, we're live. Okay. All right. So our first, let me introduce the panel. We have Pam Adger in Menifee, California. Welcome, Pam.
Hi, Dan. Hi, Ellen. Hello, everybody.
All right. And we also have in New York, we have Alan Furstenberg. Hello, Alan.
Hey, Dan.
That's Alan.
Hey, Pam. Hi, everybody.
Alan's being real nice to me. I don't know why.
Well, we have to treat, those that are inferior to us nice on occasion. I can't believe I said that. I really hope people realize that's a joke.
Yeah, I think he went to Oregon and sampled some of that new weed that they just started doing.
New weed? There's new weed in Oregon?
Now you got Pam interested.
I think they changed the law or something. All right, so Google has, we now know what Dave Besbris has been doing since his brief tenure as the head of Google Plus. He's been working on this project, and I guess Richard Gingras has talked about it, and this is called the Accelerated Mobile Pages Project, and it's designed to make websites work faster on your phone. So that's obviously awesome. So Alan, what is it doing differently?
It's a really, really simple concept. It basically says that everything we're doing on the web today is slowing it down. So we should roll back all our technology about 5 or 10 years and go back to the web of 2005, and then it'll be awesome.
So the Drudge Report lives, basically.
Yeah, basically what they're doing with this is in a lot of ways, it's more a set of standards rather than actual changes. This is specifically countering some stuff that both Facebook and Apple have done recently, which are very closed, very platform-specific delivery systems for news and for other web pages. Google is taking the approach of, hey, we like the open web. We'd rather people publish on the open web. But some of the things that we're doing these days are slowing down the delivery of them a lot. So to fix that, we're going to, let's say, restrict what it is that you can do on the web to have it delivered faster in mobile. We will then put some things in place to encourage you to do that. And we'll also introduce some new specific tags for the web to replace tags that we don't want you to use because they're slower. So in particular, things that they're forbidding under this new scheme is JavaScript, which is one of the major drivers of the web today. Major styling, which is one of the major drivers of the web today. Plugins are almost abolished. And instead, they've introduced a couple of AMP-specific tags to do things like show YouTube videos and do particular styling and a couple of other things along those lines. So they basically are replacing the very large, in some cases very heavy set of standards that the web works on today with a somewhat smaller set.
Isn't a lot of the problem the ads, which they're going to retain?
Yes and no. The ads are not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is that for every page that you download, you're downloading a ton of extra stuff these days. So, all of the really nifty looking graphics, if you go to a news website, they're going to have a big, bold banner. And as you start scrolling down, this big, bold banner only gradually scrolls off in a neat looking scrolling effect that does certain things. And, as you slide around the page, there are these nice dynamic paragraphs and dynamic graphics and dynamic things that move around, all of which is kind of wasted on mobile. So they say, okay, we're just going to not allow it on mobile at all. I'm a little concerned that they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and you're going to end up with really, really boring looking web pages on mobile. But we'll see. I mean, when you cynically introduced this as saying this is what Dave Besbris was doing, I was going to make some comment about how he set social networking back 5 years, and now he's setting the web back 5 years. But that's a little cruel. I'm cruel today, I guess.
I wasn't being cynical.
I was. That was my point.
Yeah. So I'm looking here at the demo. It's not that bad. I mean, it shows they're nice looking on the official Google blog, the second link in the topic. And if you want to see the topics, they're listed underneath the YouTube player and in the post. But it looks pretty similar to what we have now. The thing, to me, I mean, when you go to like Mashable.com or some sort of ad-rich site, isn't a lot of it when they load the awful Taboola thing with someone's face half eaten off by bacteria, or they're conducting a dozen different auctions in real time as the page is loading to decide what ad to run? If the back end isn't any faster, is this going to matter?
Well, part of the reason why those are so slow, however, is because what's really going on there, it isn't the back end. It's actually happening in your browser. And what's happening in your browser is that it's, contacting one website, which is redirecting it to another, which is redirecting it to another, which is what does the auction, and then redirects it to another, and then another, and then another. And some of that is done with JavaScript running in your browser, so it's slower, and some of that's just a bunch of network redirects, so it's slower. What AMP does is it bundles that all under a single tag called advertising, and all of the advertising networks are expected to work with this tag. And right now, 4 of them do. 3 of them are owned by Google, but that's another story. So it attempts to cut out a lot of the JavaScript that needs to run on the page, on your browser, before it can do any of that stuff. And since it now also knows certain things about where it's loading, it knows the size, for example, it can load the rest of the content before it loads the advertising, which is not something that it can always do when regular web pages load.
Yeah, I can't tell. I mean, people will abort out of a site or a page if it's taking too long. I do that.
Right, and to be honest, that's actually something that Google has studied a lot of. They, have been drilling into their people who use their webmaster tools. Hey, your website loads slow, and here's the component that loads slow. And if you want to make it faster, here's what you need to do to fix these things. Google's been on the forefront of getting webmasters to create well-optimized websites because they're seeing people are abandoning them.
And also, there's competition. Facebook with their what do they call them? Where the stories are loaded on their platform.
Yeah, I forget what Apple and Facebook call theirs, but that's the competition. The big difference between those and what Google is offering is that Google is doing it in an open framework. So they're basically saying, here's a set of guidelines, and if you follow these guidelines, everyone will be able to play along nicely with them.
So I have I don't know if it's a comment / question, sort of, kind of, something. Why can't they make Chrome fast? I mean, you said they're on the forefront. They're on the forefront for everyone else but themselves. I mean, seriously, I have to monitor this Hangout and my usage throughout the show. If I accidentally click on something, one of these articles, and it's got some moving banner ad or something, it will crash. And I have 6 gigs of RAM. I mean, it's not a super slow computer,
Well, I could make fun of Microsoft in this case, but I'm not going to. The fact is, believe it or not, Chrome for a long time was the leading edge. It was way out in front of everybody else. And everyone else has been catching up, and Chrome has only been inching forward at this point. The latest benchmarks, and I have not looked at the latest benchmarks on all of the browsers, which means that Sai is going to be sending us some information in a few minutes, I'm sure. The latest benchmarks in terms of speed still put Chrome out ahead of most of the others. Microsoft's Edge is gotten a lot better, though. What I think Chrome has always done, however, is be an absolute huge pig in terms of memory.
Yeah.
So I suspect that even if you have 6 gig, that it's using that memory inefficiently.
Yeah.
And because of that, that slows it down. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, just to be fair, and to, you know, let the people listening, person listening, whatever, know, I do have 4 of the extensions running. You know what I mean? I have URL shortener, Watt, AdBlock Plus, and
AdBlock Plus is probably doing a lot. I mean, it's probably taking up a lot of CPU and memory, because what it needs to do is extremely complex.
It's turned off for Google Plus, but it's turned on for everything else. So,
Alan,
yeah,
wouldn't it only use
click
the
out.
CPU when you're loading a page?
No.
What is
And the
AdBlock doing, like when I'm just idling here with all these tabs open?
Well, but here's the thing. The question is, what is the page doing when you're not doing anything? Because there are pages out there that will dynamically load new advertising while you're reading.
I'm seeing
Yeah.
that. Like, for example, I've got all the stories open, and I see in the Fox 11 story we're going to talk about the new California rules for privacy. That keeps loading again. But I mean, you say ad blocker is using CPU, but isn't that in the process of preventing an ad which would also use CPU and perhaps have auto loading audio?
Yes.
Which I can't stand. So it's like, you know, what do you want?
Every single time I get an auto loading video, I email the site and say I don't like this.
CNN
So
is
if
the
everyone
worst.
started, if everyone started doing that, they might start listening. I don't know.
I troll
but-
them on
No,
Twitter.
because they'd consider your email spam, and they don't like spam.
I hate when CNN does this. They'll have, and now they have, they'll have an unrelated video. Okay, if you're going to Channel 5 and you want to see a local story and it's a
Yes.
related video, okay, it's a TV station. They're going to monetize. Fine, play the video.
Yeah.
But don't tell me like the latest thing about Elon. Because let's say CNN writes a story and takes like 1 or 2 tweets from Elon Musk into a 700-word Tesla story, right? Instead of just sharing the tweet. And then there's the history of Tesla video, which is completely unrelated to this particular story. And now it's even better. It starts playing automatically with audio. And then if you scroll down to get to the text to read the story, now the video moves and it's on the right column, so you can't get rid of it. It's like, oh my God. You can pause it, which is a hassle. And on mobile, I mean, I don't know how it looks on mobile. I can't imagine what a nightmare that would be. But yeah, so we're not all about. Plus, I get pinged.
Yeah.
I'll get in trouble because something will start playing something, and I don't know what it is, and then I'll get a strike, and I'm not looking at the YouTube thing, and they think that I am technically streaming it because I can't. Any of my desktop audio goes up right to YouTube, and I can't hear it. Right? I don't know. First world problems.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and what if you're on your data instead of Wi-Fi, and you're on mobile, and it auto plays? That's not cool.
Yeah, I'm
You know?
I'm unlimited because I'm
I don't want
Sprint.
to pay. I don't want to pay for ads and auto loading videos. I don't. You know, and I don't think CNN's going to pay my data plan next month. So, you know, it's crap.
Yeah, I don't know what the solution is. People want, like, especially millennials, they'll pay for content, but not news. They won't pay for news.
Yeah.
But they'll pay for Netflix, that sort of thing. So they are willing to pay for content. It's just not news.
Well, I tell you what, you need to call Kevin Spacey.
And tell them what?
Get him to act out the news. I don't know. Sell subscriptions.
And how do you, if I want to rat out the Economist is pissing me off. It's the Economist or the Financial Times.
Oh,
what they're doing, their paywall is the one of them is really the only one I can't break through. What they do is they'll put a story up, and then it's Newsweek. You've reached your 5 articles for the month, right? So normally you can open it up incognito, and that'll work, or you could go to Google and search the title of the article. It'll pull up the Newsweek link, and then they send you to it. But what they're doing now is they're behaving differently. They're letting the Google bot see an article that I can't see, which is a violation, I believe, of Google's rules, isn't it? I think it is. So I'm gonna talk to Matt Cutts and get on those people. I'll call Eleanor Clift.
Is he even back at work?
I don't know.
Didn't he take a sabbatical for, I don't know, I never heard any news that he was back at work.
Yeah, he's still on sabbatical. He hasn't gone back yet.
You're in Cincinnati? Where are you?
Sorry. Yes, I am in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, Ohio. Kevin Bryan joins us. Welcome, Kevin. This is 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right. Anything else on this exciting and according to Alan, shitty mobile web initiative for a faster mobile web? Did you have anything on that, Kevin?
No,
Okay.
not at this time.
All right. So also coming to a mobile network near you, 5G. There's an article here that Craig actually sent me. 5G wireless data speeds hit 3.6 gigabits per second in the first large-scale field test. And there's more good news. Okay, so is everyone with 4G? Was it all the same? It used to be like you couldn't use a Sprint phone on AT&T and vice versa. I think AT&T and T-Mobile or Sprint and
You still can't, but that has nothing to do with the protocol. That has to do with the frequencies they're using.
Okay, so is that going to remain?
Probably, because Sprint is lame-ass shit.
But they're cheaper and they have unlimited data, and they're the only thing that works in my ghetto-ass town.
Right, and no place else.
So I can never leave. That's okay, because I will never leave Front Royal, Virginia.
We know, Dan. We keep trying to get you out west.
No,
Increasingly, I think we're going to start seeing things like this irrelevant because you've got more and more, we're getting the multi-frequency phones, and you're going to start seeing the multi-carrier devices, the multi-carrier SIMs. That's what Apple is doing. That's what Project Phi or Phi or Fo or Fum or whatever they call themselves is doing.
Yeah, I'm actually living that life right now. I'm using Project Phi now. It's been okay, but the problem isn't the technology. The problem is simply that the underlying companies, which are T-Mobile and Sprint, they're just not as strong as the other two companies. I've had okay service pretty much everywhere. I've had 1 or 2 dropped calls since I've gotten it. It's been about 3 or 4 weeks at this point. So it hasn't been horrific, but I would like it to be a little bit better. But I also know that I'm also on the front edge of it, and so I'm not sure how much of it is actually their bad networks or whether the switching from T-Mobile to Sprint or from either of those to Wi-Fi is the thing to blame. So I'm not positive yet. But it's been okay, but it's gonna get better, that's for sure. And Alan is right. It is more and more going to be what people will see.
I find the congestion in a busy area, like with a shopping district, like if you're in the back of a grocery store and you're like, oh man, what is in Lo Mein, and you're trying to buy the ingredients and like it's just unusable. It's so slow. Anyway, okay, so we're excited about 5Gs.
Wow, I'm truly amazed, Dan. Did you even talk about this story?
Briefly, what do you mean? I got it right before we went on live.
Right. No. I mean, on the show. I mean, I think you said that they're rolling out new 5G that has high speeds, and what do we think about this?
What do you think about it, Alan?
Are we going to have the same problems that we had with 4G and Sprint and so forth?
Go ahead, Alan.
You skipped the story part of the story a bit there, Dan.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. The 5G speeds that they're proposing are amazing if they can actually pull it off. If they can actually pull it off at the scale that they're currently doing 4G, with the frequencies, with everything else, yeah, it'll be great. It'll be I think they were aiming for adoption in 2017, which means that the carriers will have it rolled out by what, 2027? Something like that. I wouldn't bet on this anytime soon. Certainly in the US, the carriers aren't going to try to field it very quickly.
And even when they roll it out, in the places that matter, they might even be slow in rolling it out there. They'll probably be milking those areas that don't complain loudly enough to leave them on just regular 4G or 3G or even less.
Now you can go to the next story, Dan.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be great, but they're testing it. I don't see how that's amazing how they could deliver it. Is it just a more efficient spectrum? And is that speed like if one guy's on there, but like if you're at the main shopping district and everyone's using it?
Well, I mean, that's part of the questions. And I don't even think it's using a different spectrum. I think part of the point is that it's using spectrum that they already have.
Okay.
I could be wrong on that. I'm not really up on wireless protocols, but they don't have a lot of spectrum they have to allocate, really.
Yeah, until they shut the TV stations down. Okay.
They already shut them down. That space is already being allocated. That's what LTE is using, I think.
The analog, they shut
the
down.
old analog space.
I mean, I'm looking at the signal from like the local big networks, and I don't know how that works, but all right. Let me check the. Sai says he uses Chrome add-on thing called the Great Suspender. It takes the tabs you aren't using and suspends them to static content until you return back to that tab. It's made a huge difference in the number of tabs I can have open. Well, that's interesting. The Great Suspender. I'll have to check that out. Oh, and Alan's saying that Chrome does that itself. So does that mean that there's no risk of audio suddenly starting to play in my tabs? Because I still see that.
No, basically what it means is that for tabs that are taking up a lot of memory that they don't think you're in or that you're using, they'll stop doing stuff in that tab.
So
but
like
they assume, I guess, that audio playing is something that you think is important or it wouldn't be playing.
Yeah, I definitely do not think of that as the case. Because I noticed, like I was in one tab and this over here, this California, this thing keeps loading every once in a while, and from Fox 11, and it sounds like if you had Drudge Report open every minute or two, it reloads. So anyway, all right. Next is Google's denying a claim that Android Auto collects key automotive data, and this is Porsche. Is it Porsche or Porsche? Opted not to include Android Auto in the new 911, 912 because Google's system collects and transmits back to Google information such as vehicle speed, throttle position, coolant, and oil temp, engine revs. And Google says, using an unfortunate pun, God, there were a lot of puns today about Google Drive going down. Google Drive is in park. We take privacy very seriously, said Google. Do not collect the data. The Motor Trend article claims, such as throttle position, oil temperature, coolant temp, users opt in to share information with Android Auto that improves their experience, so the system can be hands-free when in drive and more accurate navigation through the car's GPS. And ironically, Porsche is, I believe, owned by Volkswagen.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't trust anything said by anybody at Porsche right now. Certainly not if it involves computers, because clearly they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Didn't they buy that from Bosch, right? The parts maker made that stuff, and it was a testing thing, and they said, don't use this for real. How
Who
could they
knows?
not know?
No, I mean everyone's denying any knowledge of it.
They were following orders.
I mean, come on. In congressional testimony, there were two interesting things that came out of the congressional testimony. One was that Volkswagen has known about this for a couple of years now, and two is that the executives claimed they didn't issue any orders to fudge the data.
Wasn't this discovered like in 2013 or
Wait,
something?
wait.
Go ahead, Pam.
I work for a large corporation that is owned by Germans. And I have to tell you,
And are you sure you want to say anything, Pam?
She hasn't named it.
no, I have to tell you that, and I'm a project manager, so I run projects.
So you're part of the problem.
No, but I can tell you that the big wigs get together and discuss this crap, like these new emission standards and the fact, oh, my diesel powered car is not going to, conform to, you could put 12 catalytic converters on. It's not going to conform to the emission standards. So they knew that, and so they knew the laws were going into effect, and they knew that their cars didn't do that. There's absolutely no way that they didn't get together and figure out what to do or who to talk to about what to do, and that there wasn't a budget. If there's a budget, someone's signing off. Okay? So the software didn't get developed by itself. Someone paid for that. Right? There's absolutely no way that they could say, we didn't know anything about it. So it's bullshit. How do you say that in German? Where's Michael?
I don't know, but it would take at least 15 minutes to say in German and have many, many more syllables to it.
You know I'm going to go look that up, don't you?
Yes. Google Translate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see if it'll even read it out loud. As for Dan's question about this coming to light a couple of years ago, there were some reports a few years back from the independent study saying, hey, it looks like there's a discrepancy here. And then Volkswagen said, oh, yeah, that's just a bug. We'll fix that. And they didn't.
But what I mean is, weren't they aware that the U.S. government, at some point prior to the announcement, confronted Volkswagen and said,
It wasn't the U.S. government. I believe it was California.
Okay, California. Weren't they working with the EPA or whatever? But I think California was the main thing. And it was a West Virginia university researcher group
That was doing the research, right.
Yeah.
They were not initially working with the EPA, no.
I know.
Not until later.
I was just thinking, apparently this was a Bosch testing software program. And
Real breaking news. Bullshit in German is Stierscheiße.
welcome to Steers
That kind of
Scheisse
makes
Week.
sense. We'll go with that.
Oh yeah, bullshit is steer, right? But they may owe Bosch a lot of money for licensing for putting that software on all these cars without permission, unless Bosch was in on it. This is huge. I mean, they're not going to go out of business because I think by volume, they're the leading car company in the world, right?
The German conspiracy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to go out of business because the German government will bail them out.
Yeah. So I bet Hans Merkel's pissed. They've made Germany look bad. Oh my God. Okay. So are the car companies eventually going to go with like, could they stick Android and could they make them compatible with Android Auto and whatever Apple's doing?
Sure. In fact, the Philips unit that you can get now does both of them. So yeah, I imagine that the other thing, of course, is that it's only this one model of Porsche that won't be using Android Auto. All of the other models of Porsche and the Volkswagens and the Fiats will be using, will give the option. So it's not quite clear how much bullshit is being spread around here. But
Is
it sure smells like a hell of a lot.
of Steer Schneitzer or whatever. So do you have to have an Android phone to use Android Auto in a Porsche?
Yes, you do.
How many people who can afford a Porsche are using an Android phone? Other than like Donald Trump. You know he tweets from a Samsung Galaxy? I found out.
I know a lot of people that are going to be ditching their Samsungs now.
Maybe he can make Android Auto great again. There's a new meme creator. It's the hat, the Trump hat, and you can put whatever text you want on it. It's a picture of the hat. Oh my God. Okay, so all right, so Porsche. I don't know. We'll that's a detente for now. All right, now there's just this little thing that was interesting. WhatsApp, which is, I believe, owned by Facebook, correct?
Correct.
Right? WhatsApp is a huge, mainly overseas or mainly in developing countries overseas, because it allows you to text for free.
Yeah, it's both.
Okay, so it's not as widely adopted. When I had the kid on here talking about what he and his friends use, they're basically Facebook and texting, and they don't use any, like, he didn't really know what WhatsApp was, and his friends didn't know what WhatsApp was. So I don't think it's penetrated the U.S. market as much. But anyway, apparently now you can back up your stuff, and I think it's a full-fledged. What's the difference? I guess it's sort of an equivalent to a Facebook Messenger, Kevin? Is that what you'd relate it to? More than a full-fledged Facebook? Or I don't know what to.
I mean, it's actually, yeah. I mean, to simplify it, yeah, that's essentially what I would say. Yeah, and what can happen with this thing is you can get an entire backup and stick it in Drive, which is, I'm not sure how people would back it up before, because I actually don't use WhatsApp myself, but I have seen it around. It's nice that they can have that backup.
Why do you need a backup? Why wouldn't it all just be stored in the cloud, like Hangouts or Gmail? I mean, why would nobody backs their Gmail up to their?
Yeah,
I don't understand that. Maybe after 30 days they disappear to save money or something.
I'm not exactly sure myself. Other than that, maybe it's to just save on data. Maybe that's one of the ways that you can save on data, just not backing everything up by sending it out to the cloud after you get it.
Like a lot of folks in the United States, I first discovered about WhatsApp when Facebook bought them for, like, 8 figures or whatever it was, or a billion or more. And so I think the allure was you could send the equivalent of the same way that BlackBerry Messenger was popular with teens back in the day, because you could avoid fees when you were limited on how many texts you could send, right? And so the BlackBerry Messenger allowed people who didn't have a lot of disposable income and were on a lower tier plan to send messages without using up texts, SMS or MMS. And so I think that's the allure of WhatsApp. You can make Wi-Fi or calls not using minutes. You can do chats. You can do, the equivalent of an SMS. So I don't see why they wouldn't back it up. I think you pay you pay something a year. I think it was like $5 or $15 a year, or $50 a year or something.
So here's the answer. The reason why people might want to back up the data is because WhatsApp doesn't actually store it.
Right. Yeah.
So once it is delivered to your phone, the server deletes it, and it only stays on your phone as long as it stays around on your phone. So if your phone gets wiped out for whatever reason, the message is gone.
Okay, that's how they can do it cheap.
Right. So what WhatsApp is doing now is they're basically using your drive storage space to save messages. In the same way that Hangouts and previously Google Chat used Gmail space to save your messages.
Are we surprised that a Facebook-owned company would make a deal like this with the Google company?
It's not much of a deal, to be perfectly honest.
Now, there is a way already to save your messages in WhatsApp on iCloud. So what's going on now is that that option that people who had an iPhone had now is available for Android users as well.
Okay, because this is the easiest way for cloud storage with an Android device. I'm
Right.
guessing most of the WhatsApp user base is Android, not iOS.
Yes, that's true.
I'm speculating, but because of the allure, mainly for the, it's the a less expensive option. That's why, but it's very popular. I know in like the Middle East.
Well, the other big thing to note here is that for Google, the advantage to them is they're able to say, hey, look, WhatsApp is doing this, and here's the API that you could do it for your applications too. They're trying to make the point that Drive is a good place to store application-specific data, not just these generic files that you leave sitting around.
You think they're getting a cut?
Google?
No, I mean they're getting. This counts toward your free storage and then your paid storage. But do you think
Right.
They're getting a kickback from Google
No.
for allowing this functionality?
Nope.
They have a lot of users, right? Don't they have more users than Facebook?
I mean, what kind of kickback would you get on zero? I doubt they're getting anything. I think what this is just it's giving them a way to provide a feature that they felt they needed to provide.
So maybe like 2% of WhatsApp users are going to spend $2 a month. So who cares? It's not real money anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're talking text messages. You know how many text messages you can store in 15 gig?
And your media, but mainly texts. Probably a lot. This will probably be the largest cache of porn on any set of Google computers, I would guess.
Amateur porn.
Yeah, no one's picking up what Pam's dropping there. We're just not doing it.
I so want to get Pam's opinion of her opinion of Justin Bieber has changed in the last 72 hours. Or his dad, I was on Mashable for some article and it said, I had to click, it said, Justin Bieber's dad's creepy response to the pick controversy. And he said, I'm a proud daddy. I thought that was pretty funny. All right, so Google Drive will now back up all of your WhatsApp data. Okay, so recently I saw Mark Zuckerberg talking about the possibility of a dislike button. And
No, you didn't.
yeah, I did. And he was
Really?
talking. Yeah, he was on a
Give me
video.
the quote. Give me the quote.
It was a video. I listened to it. It was clearly Mark Zuckerberg. And what he said,
Right,
there was
yeah,
going to.
what was he saying though?
He
He was
said
not talking about a dislike button.
I think he specifically said people want to, like, if it's not to troll your post, say I don't like your post. It's if a family member dies or something like that, and you want to acknowledge the post or express something about it, like you've read it and you're there with them.
Right.
But you want it's a
Right.
negative you want to express that you're sad.
Right.
So what have they done here? Instead of a dislike button, which was rumored a couple weeks ago,
It wasn't rumored. Oh my fucking God.
Yeah, he never really said a dislike button.
What he
It's
said,
other people who jumped on that.
everyone else started calling it a dislike button, but in his original quote, he said, even I think, this won't be a dislike button.
Oh, okay. So everything I said was correct, except I was completely incorrect.
Right.
Okay.
Glad we cleared that up.
Just wanted to set the parameters for the debate. So everything I said in the beginning about Alan was nice to me tonight. Apparently
I'm
his.
so nice to you. I didn't call you a flippin' idiot for this.
All right. So tell us. This is kind of neat. There's some little emojis that your basic.
Yeah, this is actual innovation. Which never mind. Don't get me started here. This is a nice, simple, clever test that they're beginning to run in a couple of small markets to provide additional symbols beyond like. So it includes things like a frowning face, happy faces, surprised faces.
There's an Alan
There's-
face there on the right.
Is that the one going?
Actually, it's a combination of wow and we need an Alan one that's a wow and an angry at the same time.
So this is, I mean, in some ways, this is a clever way to let people express things quickly, simply, with a single button, and not get into the whole, dislike, meaning that you dislike a person. It's a clever solution to the issue, and I believe they're testing it in Ireland and Spain. Did I have that right? In two relatively small markets,
That's correct.
both of which apparently were picked because they have very little international connectivity. So most of the people in those communities tend to be isolated in those communities.
You mean they picked Spain because Spain doesn't have any reach for its newspapers outside of Spain anymore?
Yeah.
Huh. Is that still going on? They haven't conceded on that? I thought one of the countries conceded.
No, they haven't changed the law.
Actually, it's even better. I saw an article this week, since we're getting off topic. I saw an article this week saying that there's a movement in the EU to make it an EU law. And we'll see how that goes.
It's been nice knowing you.
It's an interesting solution to the problem.
Yeah, because it's just like you see on Twitter, they say retweets are not endorsements, right? Because your only action is to favorite it or retweet it. Or in Google Plus, it's the same issue. You can +1 a post. What if it's like it's the anniversary of 9/11? Right, but if you just want to +1 it, and it's like the anniversary of 9/11, you're not endorsing 9/11. You're just saying that was a really nice, empathetic post, Pam. You know what I mean, or whatever. Pam, you were showing a little
bra strap.
Yeah, it caused me to get.
Oh yeah, that's so risque there, Dan.
Get a little randy. Getting a little randy over here in Bentonville. Not a whole lot going on in Bentonville, Pam. A bra strap is basically Victoria's Secret in my living room right now. All right, so,
Dan?
Yes, ma'am.
Incognito window, Pornhub.com. There you go.
All right, so next is Twitter unveils a video ad strategy, and it's interesting. I've used ads. I've used YouTube ads. I've experimented with a lot of this stuff, and so done pre-rolls. And so what they're trying to do is to get people to produce content and put it right on Twitter instead of doing a YouTube video and tweeting, "Here's my video." They want you to actually, I guess, it's how the hell are they doing it? You can upload your video to Twitter, and Twitter will attach a pre-roll ad in front of the clips and split the ad revenue, and you'll get 30%. They take 30%, which compares with Google's keeping 45%. So this will, I think, work. I mean, people will, because I don't know if you do if you monetize a video on YouTube, and if someone is watching that video in a tweet or in a Facebook post, I don't think there's an ad. Is there, or is there? Could there be an ad there? Maybe
Yes.
there is.
If they're actually watching the YouTube video. The problem is now when Facebook is doing it, when you post a YouTube video on Facebook, one of the options it gives you is, hey, do you want to upload your video to Facebook? So they're stealing videos in some cases. I don't know, this is the
Interesting thing here, Alan. It's kind of, I read it. I was a little busy today, so I don't thoroughly understand it. But Lexmark, which has a history of trying, a former IBM printer company, then I guess they spun them off, and they were a famous copyright case before when they tried to shut down somebody who was refilling their cartridges. Printers, of course, printer companies don't make money selling printers. They make money selling the ink afterward. As I've said before, if you do the math, I can buy ink for an offset press for like $30 a gallon. And if you look at the math on your inkjet cartridge, it's between $5,000 and $10,000 a gallon compared to the $30 it should cost, because you're paying for that fancy cartridge and the markup. And
well, we should only become enraged if they actually get away with it. I don't think they will, because this has got to be one of the stupidest arguments I have.
that's how you can get a $30 printer at Best Buy. So anyway, what is this deal here, and is this something we should all like become enraged about, because it appears to be?
Well, we should only become enraged if they actually get away with it. I don't think they will, because this has got to be one of the stupidest arguments I have ever seen in patent court. And for people who have followed this show, they've seen me rant about some really, really stupid patent cases before. Basically, what Facebook is let's try that again. What Lexmark is contending is that they have patents on their printers, and they are licensing to you use of those patents. And because they are licensing to you use of those patents, they can attach terms to that license. And one of the terms they are attaching to the license is that you not use third-party ink products. All this would be good if that made even the least bit of legal sense. And it doesn't. It's just pure bullshit. And hopefully the court will grab some Lexmark attorney by the collar and say, "You're a dumb fuck. Get the hell out of my court."
Yeah, this makes really little sense legally. There's so much case law already on the books that covers that issue already that I don't see how this could possibly succeed in any courtroom anywhere, even if it's in East Texas. I don't care.
Did you hear that guy
Right.
threw out a bunch of stuff from that that big patent troll? And there was such a patent troll that the annual caseload has been significantly diminished because this one patent troll was shut down. He threw out some key patent, and it was the guy who was like totally in bed with the patent trolls. Everyone was surprised. The East Texas
Right.
guy.
This is just absurd, though. I really want to know what lawyer came up with this idea, because they had to have some chutzpah to even propose it, because it's ludicrous on the surface.
I remember, Alan, the famous case about this, I think, is a trademark or copyright, not a patent issue. The famous Costco case, I think it was it a Seiko watch that they were selling, and they were an unauthorized dealer. And I've seen other things that they've sold where it says, "We are not an authorized dealer. We will offer you a warranty of X number of years if you buy this from us," because the manufacturer won't honor the warranty because we're not authorized. So they bought them in the gray market, or whatever you want to call it. And the issue was, they said that because their logo on the watch was a trademark, that they couldn't sell it without permission or something like that. Was that eventually, is that still the law, or was that eventually thrown out? Do you remember?
I'm pretty sure that case was thrown out or ruled against the watch manufacturer, simply because it's patently, excuse the phrase, patently ridiculous. That's not how our law works.
That's the third pun of the show so far tonight.
Our law doesn't say that just because you make something, you have full control over it in perpetuity. In fact, it says exactly the opposite. That once you sell a product, you are selling the product. That's why Lexmark is trying to say, no, we're actually licensing the patents, not selling a product, which we're also doing.
And it was all in the terms of in the agreement when you purchased it.
Right. It's not going to fly. I just don't think it's going to fly.
I mean, when you download a software thing, and it says that box, and it says, I agree, I have read and I agree to the terms of service. And we all say yes, and none of us actually read them all, because you couldn't. I mean, it'd be like trying to read the omnibus budget bill if you're a congressman. It's just impossible. It's literally a 3-foot-tall stack of papers. And there's 1,000 other bills you're dealing with. So that's an awful situation, but that's the reality. But in this case, I don't think that it's not reasonable when someone walks into Staples or Office Depot and purchases a cartridge for their printer, that you can hold them to that same standard where they've checked a box, which is essentially a legal agreement that they have read and agreed to the terms of service. And while we have a situation where nobody actually reads them and we all lie, and that can be held up in court, when it's ridiculous to assume It's ridiculous to have something that is impossible to do. If you read every terms of service agreement for every phone app you download and every, that's all you would do. I mean, you couldn't physically do it. I don't know. It's just I'm with Alan. I think if this passes any muster initially and it becomes a thing, that there'll be crazy stories in the news and it'll eventually be litigated out of existence. Anything else on this?
No.
All right, so the next is Amazon is said to be weighing an online pay TV service. So it says they've reached out to CBS, NBC about carrying channels. Amazon has, at first it seemed weird, but like Prime, you get this video service, which, as we've said before, acknowledge that what others have said, that they're probably 4 or 5 years behind Netflix, but closing that gap as far as their content, and they're doing original things, etc. And it's a way to get you in so that you can buy stuff, because if you're already able to get free shipping with Prime, then, and also they have a really nice music service. If you're a Prime member, they have a really nice mobile app that plays music. It's free, and I like it. It's great, and the kid likes it. So he used to be a Pandora guy or Spotify or whatever, and now he's all about the Amazon app, and I'm paying for it, so why not? But anyway, it looks like they're it could be just exploratory to see what would the cost be and would it be worth it. But I think, in my opinion, this clearly is about getting you to making Amazon products more attractive, so that making Amazon as a retail venue more attractive. Because I don't think they really make any money. I think they lose money on House of Cards and all this stuff. But once you're in the ecosystem, then when you're gonna buy a camera or whatever, you're more likely to buy it from Amazon with the free shipping thing, which you can only get by subscribing this. So this is all anything on the, I don't know what, and the news works, but like nobody, I mean, most people, like this show will have like a dozen people watch it live, and then anywhere from like 80 to 100 up to, like, recently one of the shows got 1,100. I have no idea why that particular show got so many, like a couple weeks ago, but most people watch it afterward. They're not into live TV. Appointment television is yesterday. So I'm thinking this would be like a replacement for your cable plan, right?
Yeah, this is an interesting change in what I thought Amazon's strategy was. And I have to say, I haven't specifically hear them describe their strategy, but from the things that they've been doing, I thought that they were trying to approach video completely in an over-the-top way by just having either original content or just having online video content, all just on demand whenever you want. This one is reaching back to the existing TV networks, and I thought that's what they were trying to skip altogether. And so I guess this is a misreading of their strategy of what I thought they were doing, because I mean, Amazon has a really long history of having online series. I mean, even skipping the current things that they have, the current shows that they've made as originals. They had previous shows with I think they had a show with Bill Maher a couple years ago. That was just straight online. They weren't trying to reach out to TV, and now it seems like after they've built up this big amount of content, now they are trying to reach to TV as well. And I'm not sure I guess they'll gain something from this, but I'm not sure if that helps them in the long run, because if they have to make a deal with TV, it's going to be an expensive deal, no matter how they cut it. And that makes the economics of putting video online less lucrative.
Well, so here's the question, though. Will this be part of Prime, or will this be Prime Plus, or will this be a completely separate thing? And it's all rumored now. We're totally speculating.
Well, I'm assuming they're going to treat it like they treat like 80% of their video, which is that you can technically see it, but you're going to have to pay for that. Like for most of the content that you can get on a video, it's not really Prime Video. It's just Amazon Video that you can access by paying for it. Like there's like whole series of TV shows. Sorry, there's a whole series of TV shows that you would think initially you could just watch being a Prime member, but then when you actually get to the page, it says, okay, pay $2.99 or $10.99 or $8.99. So now you can actually watch the series that you thought you were paying for already with Amazon Prime. So I'm assuming they're going to treat the TV channels the same way they've been treating 80% of their video, which is that technically you can see it, but you're going to have to pay extra.
Yeah, I have Netflix, Amazon Prime, and HBO Now. HBO Now, ironically, is by far the most expensive and the absolute shittiest user interface of any of them. Like you want to see the latest Bill Maher show or the latest John Oliver, and it'll take you to like the previous season, episode 1, every time. It never remembers where you were. I mean, but they're new, it's baby steps. But I was very surprised when HBO did that. The only thing, I think they're going for a conventional cable system over the internet more so, because there's the only thing people really will do appointment television for is news or sports or like award shows or beauty pageants, things that you want to watch live. And your latest episode of whatever the new show is, Big Game Theory or you know, whatever the things are. And I don't even watch that kind of crap, but I don't know how many people watch it live versus watch it afterward. But I know Nielsen is trying to address that to give better numbers. But I think news, sports, and some special event type things are really the only thing that people will actually like race home to watch. You know, the game, the big game, or you know, Washington's doing something crazy.
Well, yeah, that's the funny part. I mean, that's really what TV does best. TV does best at presenting things that are happening now in real time, and it's not good at doing things like sitcoms or any other kind of pre-recorded content. And I guess that's the strategy that Amazon is taking, is trying to take what TV doesn't do as well and take that away from them, so that they're stuck with either trying to push an inferior version of what they really do, and then they're trying to make them push. They're trying to take away something that TV doesn't do as well and do it better, and then it's up to TV to decide whether to do what it does best and push that more, or whether it wants to try and hold on to the older model and then continue to bleed users, especially younger.
They're doing baby steps toward the new model, because like CBS's thing, I looked at, I considered it, and I rejected it because you pay and you still have the ads. You know, I don't want to pay. I don't want to watch ads and pay. And the last few episodes are on there. By the way, I just got to throw this out there. John Dingle tweets, and he's hilarious. He just said, I just saw a tweet. He said, I fought for universal health care for 89 years, and I forgot, I should have stuck in a line, because he's in the hospital right now. He said, and I never thought to stick in a line about extra long charging cables for hospital beds for his phone. But he's funny. You should follow him. He's really funny. So anyway, yeah, so it's interesting to see what they're going to do, if anything. I mean, it could just be exploratory, but I'm seeing that the companies are more, they're starting to recognize it. If ESPN goes with the non-cable thing, that could really be an immediate, you know, that would be the biggest destructive force for the conventional cable model. And
For who again? I'm sorry.
If ESPN were to offer an option to bypass your conventional package, that would be very bad for, you know, the Comcast. They're still making money from the internet. I mean, you're still paying Comcast. But if those big things happen, I mean, I don't know. I don't see how the local TV channels. I mean, you see stuff. They're doing stories. It's like a couple days after I've seen it on Drudge Report. You know, or on Facebook. You know, the bear family playing in the pool, and like 4 days later, it's on the local NBC TV news. You know, like I guess. And if you look at the cable news, Fox News, CNN, I watch them all, and all the ads are for like for various things for octogenarians. You know, if your heart's not working, your penis is broken, or whatever it is. It's just like, my God, you think you're dying of several diseases by the time you get through an O'Reilly factor. All right, so next is
I just want to mention
Go
Sling
ahead.
TV is like $20 a month, and it does have ESPN as an
okay.
over-the-top service.
That's right. That's right. I remember because when I saw that's from Dish, or who's doing that?
It's from Dish. It's called Sling TV.
Sling TV. Yep, that's the one. And I thought, oh God, that's the beginning of the end. But people still like the local news. That's still something people like to watch, especially in inclement weather. You know, in the middle of America, where you actually have 4 seasons. In Alaska, it's going to be cold. You know, in Florida, you're going to sweat. I mean, there's not a. But anyway, okay. So, new California law extends privacy rights to electronic data. I am not well versed. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm fairly well versed, but Alan can dive in here. But California is now going to require, and the governor signed it, the legislature passed it, a warrant for electronic eavesdropping to search messages, photos, and other digital data stored on phones or company servers in the nation's most populous state. So, wouldn't they have needed? They didn't need a warrant before, because I know, like, sometimes the federal government can do what's called a national security letter, and they view us. Historically, they have said, in order to go into Kevin Bryan's house, I have to have a warrant. However, that requirement does not apply to a business record. So, for example, what phone numbers on his AT&T phone he's called, or what text messages he has sent back and forth, or his email with Gmail, they've said that because that is those are business records from a business relationship, they don't have the same standard requirement for a warrant. I think that's typically what they've done. And of course, this would only apply to state and local municipality searches. This would not apply to an FBI investigation or something, because that would usurp those. So what's going on here, Alan?
I'm currently trying to read the EFF's guide to knowing your rights with your cell phone. And it's long and complicated, and I don't actually know the answer. But it basically boils down to currently, oh, here we are. Even if you're arrested, police can only search your phone under limited circumstances. After a person's been arrested, police generally may search items on a person and in pockets automatically without a warrant, but the Supreme Court has ruled that police cannot search the data on a cell phone under this warrant exception. So I don't know. Unless they, I'm not entirely sure what new protections this gives, to be honest. I read the article, and the article says that this is one of the few laws in the nation that does offer this new protection, but the EFF seems to be saying that it's not necessary.
We're seeing
So
a lot.
I don't actually know.
Wouldn't it? I could see how this would address the, what do they call them? The fake cell towers that they put up to intercept.
That's right. Yes, that.
I'm guessing it
one
would
of the-
impact
the,
that. Other than that,
yeah.
I can't think of what wouldn't already be protected.
I don't know. So yeah, the towers whose name I suddenly can't remember. Viper. Is it? No, it's not Viper. Viper is something else.
Stingray.
Stingray. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I could see, look, if you have the Boston Marathon bombing and you're trying to, or something like that, or 9/11, and you're trying to, I could see the impetus, but I don't understand what is the big deal if you're investigating a drug dealer or your typical run-of-the-mill case, why you can't just go to the judge and say, we have 7 people who said they bought drugs from the guy using a cell phone. We'd like to get a warrant. I mean, the judge is going to approve that. I don't understand how this is some monumental thing that the cops just have to have. And I'm not really clear exactly what they want to do, but they're opposed to this. I'm not sure what they could do.
You're the newspaper guy. Ask a cop why they'd rather do things without a warrant.
I mean, they don't even want. There was a story about the cams. Everyone's getting the body cameras for the police department, but they don't want to give up the video. If it vindicates the police, they'll give it up, right? But if if it's it's under investigation, if it's not, completely vindicative, I don't know what the word is. And what's the pronunciation? Is it biopic or biopic? All the stories about the new Steve Jobs movie. How do you pronounce that word?
Biopic.
Biopic?
Biopic?
I always thought it was
Are you
biopic.
kidding?
Yeah.
Why would you think it's biopic?
I don't know.
A book that's written about somebody. What's that called?
A biography.
Uh-huh.
A movie would be a biopic.
No, biopic. Biography, biopic. Makes perfect sense to me. I mean, I see where you're coming
It's not
from
like
now.
myopic.
Huh?
It's not like myopic.
Ironic. All right, so okay, I'm sure Snowden's for this. He started tweeting this week. He's got a lot of free time, right? So I guess he can tweet now. He's at least not in that freaking hotel in the train station or the airport, whatever the hell it was. All right, so next is, and this is where Alan, this is a rare point of disagreement between Alan and me, as I'm dripping with sarcasm. A brief history of the end of comments. And I've seen this, like I noticed, like on a lot of CNN stuff, you can't comment anymore. Recode, this was kind of humorous. Recode announced that they were going to get rid of comments because, and the expression was because we find that people are posting the stories on social media and they're commenting there. I'm a fan of the comments, although not the cesspool like on a YouTube video. Like if Obama's given a speech, or the Pope or whatever, and you look at the live comments and it's just literally a cesspool. I mean, every, racist, or in the Pope's case, anti-Catholic insult you could possibly come up with, the rudest, most vulgar, profane is all there. You'd be embarrassed if your kids were watching that stuff. And then they require moderation. Like I know the New York Times, I think they allow comments on certain stories and they don't on other stories. A lot of places will allow them on opinion posts, but not news articles, because there is a labor cost to moderate these things. And as the web has become now, I think over 50% of content consumption is on mobile, or that wouldn't be relevant. But anyway, so I think Alan doesn't miss the comments. I do. And I remember, like on Consumerist, they had a hack years ago, and they pulled all the comments, and the comments were some funny, wonderful commentary. And they point to Reddit. You can learn, like Reddit without the comments would just be the Drudge Report, what do you guys think? I mean, what's the fix here? Because it does require a human being with some level, and some mature human being who can make a judgment call. Is this a fair thing to, how do you moderate this? Is this illegal? Is it like just, what's the difference between, kill the Catholics and I really don't like Catholicism? One's you should get rid of, and one is just his opinion. How do you moderate that? So you have to have somebody with some gray matter doing this job, which means, and it's got to be a mind-numbing job and boring, and they're going to get criticized, and then they're going to have trolls set up websites. I don't know what the solution is, but I just I don't like the trend that it's just we're back to a one-way thing instead of an interactive thing where people can say, I disagree, Nilay Patel. And ironically, when Recode stopped it, Nilay did a tweet. He was being sarcastic. He said, when Recode stops caring about their users or something. And then all these Recode people like Walt Mossberg and everybody were weighing in like, no, we care, blah, 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 blah. And then like down the Twitter comment stream, he said, I was just trolling you guys. I was just kidding. And then The Verge, which Nilay has run off and on, then they dumped comments, and then they bought Recode. So it's full circle. But what do you guys think of this? Alan, you go first. I mean, you don't think it's a big loss because of the cesspool factor, I guess?
Pretty much. Well, I mean, mostly because of the cesspool factor, but more importantly, I think it kind of boils down to me. Why would I want to read 500 messages from people whose opinions I don't care about in the first place?
I would counter that to say on a site like TechCrunch, you might find clarifying information. You might find a good criticism. You might be able to say, hey, there's 17 typos in this, get a copy editor.
Okay, and the other 496 messages that I'd have to wade through will, be utter garbage of people who are ill-informed, ill-advised, ignorant, stupid, and just plain trolls.
Well, I think what we're missing here is in pretty much all the comment systems, we need some way of rating the validity or the seriousness that you could take the person or the account by. Obviously, an idea like that won't work if someone really does want to troll and they just open up, 50 accounts and they just troll. But it could at least give some way of looking at a comment, and if the comment is really silly, other users could just vote that person obviously not technically, but as an account that you shouldn't take that seriously, or is new, or something like that.
It goes beyond that, though, Kevin, I think, and this is actually where the power of social media could have had a role to play in handling this, and I think it didn't because, the social systems that are out there have no interest in doing it well. They're of interest in serving their own needs, or they're just, dumb fucks who don't know what the fuck they're doing. I won't mention anybody by name, Google+. This is a case where truly, I might want to hear from friends of friends or friends of friends of friends, but I almost certainly don't want to hear the comment by somebody who's totally random, who I cannot judge whether they are talking on subject, whether they are trolling, whether they know anything about it or not. I trust my friends, or maybe I don't trust my friends, but I'm the only correct judge of that. And any voting system needs to take that social weighting into account, and it doesn't.
Yeah, that absolutely is true. I think we need both, plus machine learning, to figure out what kind of patterns that trolls follow. We need all of those things. And you're right that social networks in general, they haven't really been pushing hard to learn how to do that better, because who really cares on their end? I don't know who cares. But yeah, that's what we need. If comments were to work correctly, we would need all of those things. And we really don't have any of those tools. So might as well turn it off.
Well, you might as well turn it off and rely on the reshare. And the reason why relying on the reshare works is because that actually turns it into a localized comment system, which
Right.
works.
Speaking of comments, I'm looking at our comments.
Speaking of comments, Dan forgot to look at them all evening, so he's now getting
There's not
to them.
many. There's not many. The Facebook thing dumped out. It said my network sucked. And I tested it, and it was 54 down and 8 up. It should be 10, but I'm streaming at like 4 megabits, so that probably, I guess, took some of it up. Mark says we're seeing the new Chromecast products in the field. Do I have to buy a Fire Stick to cast Amazon Prime shows to my non-Bluetooth TV?
Probably. Or Roku might be able to handle it, because they're okay with Roku.
Yeah. Yeah, we disagreed on that Monday. So, Pam Adger, how was your Google Plus week? Would you care to comment for us?
It was uneventful, actually. It's freaking hot. That's why my hair's all the way up, because it's like 100 degrees. And Santa Ana winds blowing, and so it's really dry. But No, it was a pretty interestingly boring week. So no complaints. Tomorrow, my youngest daughter turns 21, and she wants to get drunk with her parents. So we're gonna go to a sports bar, and she's gonna hang out with our oldest friends and us and get drunk on my dime. So I'm going to be the designated driver. So it should be fun. She made me promise not to take any video of her, but I might break that promise. Depends on how drunk she gets.
I was going to say it would be more fun if you did it at home and live streamed it, but I guess she's not going to allow that.
You know, I kind of wanted to do it here because I have like $1,000 worth of alcohol, and it wouldn't take much to get her drunk probably. But our friends live kind of far away, and so we're going to meet in Carlsbad where they're closer. And like I said, I'm going to be the designated driver for everybody, so I'm just going to have maybe a beer or so at the bar, and that's it.
My sister, the author, there's this $1,000 bourbon, and she signed up. There's a waiting list, like a couple years. I think now they didn't even have a waiting list anymore because I guess I don't know what happened, if they lost all of it or something happened, like a fire or whatever. But somehow there was this devastation of the bourbon, and it's like aged several years, so it sells for like $1,000, and she got it. But if you signed up, you got it for the retail list price at the ABC store. So she signed up at 2 different stores. And then they called her and they said, it's here, like 2 years later. And so she got, like, for a song, these $2,000 worth of bourbon. Anyway, we tried it a couple months ago, and it was really good. But
Was
it'll
it?
be like,
Okay.
I think it's aged like 20 years or something. So it'll be like 18 years before they fix the issue. So anyway, okay, so that happened. Kevin, how was your Google Plus week? And then Alan, I'll be right back.
My Google Plus week was pretty good. I'm still getting used to my Nexus 6. I'm waiting for Android M to come in. Has not gotten here yet. I'm also playing around still with Project Fi. That was the specific reason why I got the phone. Service has been okay. It's on T-Mobile and Sprint, and them combined equal about 70% of AT&T, which is probably 60% of Verizon, but it's still okay. I've had 1 or 2 dropped calls, and I've talked about this a little bit earlier as well. I had 1 or 2 dropped calls, but I'm not clear on whether it looked like it was more the switching service more than the actual network itself, because it's completely dropped out for a second. It's been okay. I like the Nexus 6 itself. I actually got the older version of the Nexus 6, not the new Nexus that's coming out now. So I'm wondering whether I should have waited a month or 2, but I'm still liking this bigger screen size because this is a 6-inch screen size instead of 5.7. Other than that, pretty uneventful. Pretty nice week. How was your Google Plus week, Alan?
Wasn't too bad. I actually had a fairly good week. Kept pretty busy. Wanted to address a couple of comments and some other stuff that's been flowing through. So Mark Barris posted, thanking us for the answer. For a workaround for casting Amazon Prime as Chromecast, can't blame them, does not support Amazon Prime casting. Let's be clear here on who we do blame for that. That would be Amazon is to blame for not casting stuff to Chromecast. And the reason why is because they don't want to support the competition. You can't expect Chromecast to force some other application to work.
In the same way that Google said that Amazon could no longer sell apps in their app on Android because only Google wanted to make the money. So Amazon, it's a tit for tat. It's not like there's an ogre and a, Jesus on a white horse here.
The difference in that case is that the app that Google prevented Amazon from installing opens up a security backdoor.
Wasn't the reason also that Google wasn't making any money? I mean, they're very competitive. There's nothing wrong with that. It makes it better for the consumers. There are plenty of places you can buy a Chromecast.
Security backdoor, and that trumps anything that the business would say. It was a security violation, and that's all there is to it.
It's not so much security violation. I mean, Android's designed to do that, but it was opening up a security backdoor, which is in Android for a reason, but not one that necessarily Google wants to endorse. The other thing is that, where'd it go here? So Dan, you were talking about Costco and watches.
Yes.
Apparently that court case had been going on for about a decade and was only settled earlier this year. It did go, it's an interesting one, and I've only read a little bit about it.
Was it Seiko?
Apparently, it was Omega.
Okay.
Apparently, when it was a copyright case, because under our rules, there are already rules in place that prevent for example, the watch itself can't be copyrighted or trademarked. I'm not sure about trademarked. I'm not sure why not trademarked, but watches aren't copyrighted works because useful articles can't be copyrighted.
It was the logo, right?
It wasn't even a logo, because that's a trademark. It was on the back of the watch, they engraved what they called a piece of art. And they claimed that art was copyrighted and that they were reselling the art. And normally under the first sale doctrine, they should have been allowed to resell it. The Ninth Circuit Court and the Supreme Court ruled against Costco and then kicked it back down for determination of damages. And while they were waiting, and while that was ongoing, another case went through the system, and that other case essentially invalidated the first case.
I don't like these vertical monopolies where, and that's what this is. I mean, Omega wants to control the distribution. I don't like these cases.
So Dan, why shouldn't they do whatever they want? I mean, it's their product, right?
I think they should be able to sell it at a wholesale rate, and everyone should be able to sell it for whatever they want. Just like Craig bought this Shure thing that lets you plug a microphone into an iPhone or an Android phone and get really good quality audio from like an
You were going to have to
SM58.
figure out some way to plug that thing, weren't you?
No, I mean, I think it's good. But the point is, I noticed on Shure's site, it said it was $129, and that's what it is at B&H. That's what it is at Amazon. Same thing with like Levi's jeans. I like 514 jeans, 3230s, and they're $29 everywhere. Or no, $39 everywhere except at Costco. They're $10 cheaper. But I don't see how a company can say the only way you can sell this product is if you're an authorized dealer, and if you're an authorized dealer, you have to sell it at this price. Why can't they just sell? Here's the wholesale price, and it's a free for all.
So you're willing to force you're willing to force a company to sell it to somebody they don't want to. Is that what you're saying? I don't understand you sometimes, Dan. You want to force some companies to sell things and not force other companies to sell things.
You're twisting what I'm saying. I'm saying
No,
that you
I'm
shouldn't be able to
quoting you.
dictate the retail price of a product because the consumer loses. You shouldn't be able to say, if you're going to sell this product, it has to be at this price or you can't sell it. And
You
you're going to
obviously
use
don't care about
tricks.
the consumer losing in other cases, though.
Name, what are you talking about?
All of our other arguments about, this is where you say, forcing Walmart to sell somebody else's brand of mayonnaise.
Pam Allen is like a,
Troll is the word you're looking for, Dan.
I was going to say like a girlfriend that remembers everything you've ever done wrong and can recall it on command
Look,
in an
Dan,
argument. When the man is
Dan,
flustered and stupid, the woman can recall every freaking thing you've ever done wrong.
No,
And there was
Dan,
that time.
you can use that one against me when I quote you calling Chrome OS ghetto. But the fact that you use that argument every other week on this show really makes it hard to forget.
No, look, I understand Walmart. I mean, I'm not saying Walmart should not be forced. If Alan Furstenberg creates Furstenberg's potato chips, and Walmart chooses not to carry that product, that's their right. But if they choose to carry it, it shouldn't be under the. And then let's say it gets really popular. They say you have to charge $3 a bag for the potato chips. The consumer loses. You're building in you're using your power as
A price fix.
it's a price fix. It's vertical price
Yeah.
fixing. I don't like that. That's my issue. I don't like why are Levi's
Well,
the
that's
exact
what-
same price everywhere? Because if I open
That's what
go ahead.
that's what Apple does. That's what Levi's does. That's what most
I give up on this argument because I don't want the show to last another 2 hours. But
Okay. All right, so my week's good. And next week will not be because I have to make the paper again, which is a lot of work. But anyway, so I'm trying this new thing. I was trying to do lo mein. I couldn't buy the noodles. I was trying to make lo mein, like at Panda Express. You want rice or lo mein, and so not something I eat all the time because it's obviously like 12,000 calories and carbs. But so I got this at the grocery store. The kid, I made some for him. I'm gonna make some after here for me. But this is the stuff that you see in the grocery stores. These stir-fry noodles. They're fully cooked, and you just put them in there. So I did some like garlic and onion. Chicken I cut up, and then shiitake mushrooms, and what else? The noodles and some stir-fry sauce. So that'll be fun to do. And I remember we used to have a mushroom festival in Front Royal every year. It was the Wine and Mushroom Festival, and then all the mushroom people died off. There was like one left, so now it's the Wine and Craft Festival. But they used to have T-shirts at the Mushroom Festival. Shiitake happens, which I thought was pretty cool. But anyway, so I'm gonna experiment with that. But it was a good week. I got to get some dental stuff done, which I'm not looking for. I'm actually petrified about. But men are big babies when it comes to like surgery and stuff. So anyway, thank you all for watching. We appreciate it. Google Plus Week is every Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific on Google Plus and YouTube and Facebook now sometimes, but it died out tonight. And also sometimes on, what's the one? It's Periscope and the other one. I've been using the other one because everyone likes it better. Meerkat. Sometimes we do it on Meerkat. But anyway, thank you for watching. We appreciate it. And until next time, have an epic, awesome Google Plus week.